Good morning, David.
Good morning, Judy. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And thanks for joining me.
I'm glad to have. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm with David Bradley of Edward Jones Investment in Dundas on King Street. And thanks for joining me. My name's Judy Chapallo. I'm with the Loft Realty. And so just tell me, David, about your business, what you do there at Edward Jones Financial.
Yeah. Yes. So our business is focused around meeting the distinct goals of our clients. We spend a lot of time trying to understand what's most important to them, and we have an established process where we understand where each family is right now and where they want to go, and we first of all see if it is possible, because sometimes people have pie in the sky, and sometimes people shoot too low. So we want to make sure that their goals are true goals and that we can achieve them, and we have this established process where we are continually making sure that they're doing the right things with their money at the right time to achieve each of their goals when they want to.
Right. Okay, good. And Edward Jones, where's their headquarters?
So Edward Jones is based in St. Louis. We have a Canadian headquarters in Mississauga, right across from, it's on Burnham Thorpe, right across from Square One.
Right, okay. And are they branches? Is that how it works, or are they?
Yeah, so every branch is not a franchise. We are all employees of Edward Jones.
And there's you and how many other people in your office there?
So right now I've got two assistants that help me. I'm the sole financial advisor, and I help, and my two assistants all work together to try to get us to help our clients meet their goals.
Yeah, and how long have you been there?
So I have been here, this is my 19th year with Edward Jones, and I've been on King Street all along.
Oh, really? Okay. And do you live in Dundas?
I do not.
Right, yeah.
I live on Lock Street, which is a very similar feel to Dundas, and I love it. Right, I love being able to go up and down the streets, and see the different businesses.
Lock Street's great. And it's a 10-minute drive or something. It's not far, is it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what kind of clients do you have generally? I mean, are they families? Are they single people, young people? Do you have many young people?
I do. Most of my clients tend to be close to retirement or in retirement, and I really do focus on the family. So there's a number of families that I have 3 generations of clients. There was one family I had 4 generations of clients, but unfortunately that doesn't last.
No. Well, that's something though, isn't it?
It is, and so you really get an understanding of what the family values are and how they spread across.
Yeah, and then you just obviously decide, I suppose, what you think is best for them in terms of where they put their money. I mean, there's a lot of choices, I imagine, and you just kind of look at the current status of the financial world, as it were, and
yes, I make my recommendations, but ultimately the decision resides with the individual.
Yeah, and you have some who are conservative and some who are quite risk takers, I suppose.
Oh, and that's a challenge when you're dealing with a husband and wife, and one person wants to have a very conservative portfolio, one person wants to have a higher risk portfolio, and so trying to mesh them together, it's interesting. I have we make predictions. We've got some good guidance which tells us, depending on what kind of portfolio you have, how much you expect to make. And I had a couple that wanted high risk and low risk. And when I presented their portfolio at one point, they achieved both what they were trying to achieve. but the low risk person was looking down and saying, "Oh, well, I wish I could have had the other one." So then we went through the risk that she's willing to take, and ultimately we decided to take on a little bit more risk, but not as much as the other spouse was willing to take.
Interesting, isn't it? Turning the
It is.
dials up and then down, and yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and we typically give ranges for where portfolios should be invested according to each risk tolerance questionnaire, and so I make the decisions with the client, of course, to where we should be in those different ranges, because certainly nothing is static in the investment world.
Oh, I imagine, yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, this pandemic, it must have just caused all sorts of upheaval. I mean,
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And what about your background, David? What kind of education and do you, I guess you have continuing education where you are now?
I do, yes. So I graduated from the University of Western Ontario with 2 degrees. I have a Bachelor of Engineering Science and I have a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. I spent 10 years in the engineering field, decided I did not like to spend most of my time in front of a computer, and I did that about 1996, 97. I decided I wanted to make a change and really started investigating the investment world at that point. And it wasn't until I came across Edward Jones in 2000 that I decided that this was the appropriate firm.
Oh, good one. Yeah. What's your favorite part about what you do?
It's dealing with the clients. Yeah. I love to hear how the families are doing, because certainly when you've been dealing with somebody for many, many years, you've seen children grow up and get educated, and they are now working and buying houses and having babies, and then you see the seniors, you see the pre-retirees start to retire and enjoy what they have saved their money for. So, and their priorities change, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I suppose you have clients who go through some kind of a personal disaster for whatever reason, and trying to get them back on track must be challenging.
Yeah, life never changes, life is always changing, and their goals become different, right? When you're thinking about families, and they tend to spread their wings with their children, and sometimes my clients say, "Hey, you know what? I want to take the entire family on vacation so we can spend it together." So that's the family. Sometimes it's grandparents and their children, their spouses, and sometimes their children. So it really is an interesting when things happen. Now, things aren't always as satisfying for there. Certainly there's other things that happen. People lose their jobs, need to re-enter the workforce. People, unfortunately, do get divorced, and so we've got to deal with the issues there. And it's back to square one. Where are you today, and where do we want to be, and how do we achieve that goal?
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, it's always changing too, isn't it? It's not like
it's always changing.
Yeah.
We call it preparing for the unexpected.
Yeah. I guess the nest egg comes in, doesn't it, of having some kind of a surplus.
Absolutely.
To through the bad times.
Yes.
Have you found a big difference since the pandemic started in terms of people calling because their financial situations have changed?
People are generally worried when they see 24 hours, 7 days a week news saying how bad things are. Yeah. But people's portfolios in general are protected for these things because we know something's going to happen, and so we allow for it. We just don't know, and we didn't know that it was going to be a world pandemic, but it could have been a recession or anything else that's gone along that will have changed it. And so you've got to make portfolios. I describe it as bulletproof. So that you want to make sure that people's goals are going to be able to still be achieved regardless of what happens in the market. Because the stock markets do go down, bond markets at that point tend to go up. And if you have a well-balanced portfolio, then you're going to be safe, right? You're going to have that bulletproof vest on.
So if the stock market tanks or goes down significantly, how does that affect the typical person that you have as a client?
So it causes concern.
Yeah.
And before I bring any client on, we have the discussion about what would you do if this occurred? What would you do if your portfolio went down 25%? Because the stock market does that, and it does it on a regular basis, maybe once every 4 years. Oftentimes is short-lived, and this COVID-19 is with us for a long period of time. But right now, a lot of the stock market has returned back to where it is in general. You protect when you have a car, you have a suspension system with the shock absorbers and springs to be able to make sure that you have a smoother ride. In people's portfolios, we have the same thing. So the springs are like the equity or the stock market, and the shock absorbers are the bonds. Okay, and it's a matter of finding the right configuration of both of those types of investments to make sure that you have the ride that you want to experience.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine some people panic, obviously, but at the end of the day, you have to kind of ride it out, don't you, to some extent?
So, yes, there's distinctly people that do panic, and a lot of the time that you spend with clients during times of market downturn, you're holding their hand, you're making sure that they're comfortable and they're knowledgeable about what's happening. Okay? Whenever there is turmoil, there are things that can be done. And even though the stock market has returned, largely, specifically in the United States, there are still things that can be done because there's dichotomies in the market.
Right. Okay. Well, that's yeah. So it's kind of following the bouncing ball, isn't it?
Yes. The most boring part of my job is when everything's sort of normal.
And it's just maintenance. Yeah. Who wants that, hey? So if you were to give a piece of advice to a young person starting out, maybe in their first job kind of thing, in terms of their finances, what would you say to them?
Save and invest. Try to understand where you want to be in the next 5 and 10 years. It's a little hard for people to be thinking 40 years down the road or 45 years down the road about retirement, but think about what you want to do. Most likely these people are just starting their jobs, are either renting or they're living at home. If they're living at home, this is the time when they'll have more money than you'll ever know that is disposable. So my recommendation is start saving your money. All right. If you eventually want to buy a house, think about what your mortgage payment is going to be when you do buy a house, and save at least that. Right? You can, if you're living at home, you can save even more.
Yeah. Right, and hopefully you save it, but it's so easy and tempting to spend it on something else for a lot of people, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, especially when you've been a starving student for 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, yeah. It's challenging, but it's very good advice for sure. Yeah. So what else do you do for fun when you're not working?
Oh, I love to ski.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just, whether I'm skiing with family or skiing with friends, downhill skiing, I really get a lot of enjoyment with
Wow.
it. In the summer, I like to sail with one of my really good friends. Because of the COVID-19, I haven't been out sailing at all this year because it's his boat, and I want to make sure that we're all safe.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Great, great pastimes. That's for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you like
My
working
dad's.
Pardon me?
I was just going to say, my dad started me out at skiing when we used to have a ski club right at Shiddoak Golf Course.
Yeah, I remember that on the Bunny Hill.
Yeah. Yes. I refer to it as Mount St. Shiddoak.
I know when my parents first moved here to Canada from England, someone asked them if they'd been to the mountain, and they looked around and they said, "What mountain?" Of course, it's not a mountain, but to us,
Exactly.
Anyway, well, that's wonderful, David. It sounds like very healthy sports activities that you're engaged in.
Yeah, thank you.
And Dundas is great because you get to see a lot of people. I imagine if you go up King Street, I'm sure you see people that you know all the time.
I love walking up and down the street. It's a very vibrant community, and Dundas people have decided to make Dundas important. So when you walk up and down the street, the businesses are typically thriving. I know we're having some difficult times right now, but Dundas people like to support the Dundas businesses, and that's great.
Yeah, and it's got everything that you need in Dundas. It's extremely self-contained or self-sufficient, whatever. It's got all the banks and lawyers and shops and restaurants. It's a great little town. I love it too.
Yes, it is a great town. Yeah, everything's walking distance. You can get everything that you need.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, David, thank you. So, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we say goodbye? Anything I missed?
I don't think you missed anything. You know, I'm just glad to be here in Dundas, helping my clients achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for this time.
Yeah, and I'll have your contact information up afterwards. But you're on King Street. I know where you are, but how would you describe where you are? Wouldn't people ask?
So I'm at 44 King Street East.
That's a good one.
At the corner building at the corner of King Street, just as you enter downtown. There's Lee's Pharmacy, which most people know, and I'm in between the computer repair shop and the used bookstore.
That's right. Yeah, there's a bunch of little stores down there. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate your time and all the best. Oh. I'll talk to you sometime again in the near future, I hope.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Judy.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye-bye.